So we're going to be starting chapter 2. You want a pen? There's a pen.
Pen.
Well, I didn't think I'd ever gonna get out of Exodus.
Oh,
I read it 15 times. Go to the Lord, get on track.
yeah.
I'm afraid not to start over.
So
I'm afraid I'll miss something.
Thursday I finished the Old Testament. Friday I started the New Testament. So,
I didn't get it as well as my schedule.
all right, chapter 2. And I know that we did verse 1, but we'll do that anyway. So, starting there. Thus the heavens and the earth were completed in all their vast array. By the seventh day God finished the work he had been doing. So on the seventh day he rested from all the work. And God blessed the seventh day and made it holy. So what's the seventh day?
Saturday.
Saturday, right? All right. And God blessed the seventh day and made it holy because on it he rested from all the work he created that he had done. All right, so Saturday being holy, he was planning in advance, right? So what was he planning in advance for Saturday, for Saturday's being holy, the day of rest? What was he planning that for?
Sabbath.
The Sabbath, right? All right. So here's the thing: everything that he's talking about here, all part of this creation, he has been planning for the future, because he knows the future. He knows what's going to happen. So that's why he made it so that the earth was full of water. There was water under the surface. There was water above the surface, and there was water above the surface. And in the skies, and the heavens, and the heavens. So he was planning all of this because he knew what was going to happen. All right? So then he goes on. This is the account of the heavens and the earth when they were created. When the Lord God made the earth and the heavens, and no shrub on the field had yet appeared on the earth, and no plant of the field had yet sprung up, for the Lord God had not sent rain on the earth, and there was no man to work the ground. But streams came up from the earth and watered the whole surface of the ground. And the Lord formed the man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. And the man became a living being. All right, so the plants hadn't done anything yet, right? Why?
No rain,
No rain
and no man to do it.
and no man to do it. Now, does that mean, so what does that mean about no man to do it? What does that mean? What do you think he means by that? Well, we know that he's creating Adam and Eve. We know there's going to be people. We know that, so it means that man was still going to have to work the ground in order to get food. All right? So they're still going to have to do it. Then we go on. Now the Lord God had planted a garden in the east in Eden, and there he put the man he had formed. And the Lord God made all kinds of trees grow out of the ground, trees that were pleasing to the eye and good for the food. In the middle of the garden were the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. A river watering the garden flowed from Eden. From there it was separated into 4 headwaters. The name of the first was the Pishon. It winds through the entire land of Havilah, where there was gold. The gold in that land was good. Aromatic resin and the onyx were also there. The name of the second river was the Gidon, and it winds through the entire land of Cush. The name of the third river was the Tigris. It runs along the east side of the Asher, and the fourth river is the Euphrates. Now, with all of that information about these 4 rivers, you would think it'd be easy to do what? To find Eden. But we can't. There's a couple of rivers in there that are even unheard of as of today. All right, verse verse 15. The Lord God took the man and put him in the garden of Eden to work it and to take care of it. There, see, he still had work. Everyone thinks that Adam was just laying back around, not doing anything, just picking fruit and eating it and everything. No, he had a job to do. He still had to work the garden. All right. And the Lord God commanded the man, "You are free to eat from the tree, from any tree in the garden, but you must not eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. For when you eat of it, you will surely die." The Lord God had said, "It is not good for man to be alone. I will make a helper suitable for him." Now, the Lord God had formed out of the ground all the beasts of the field and all the birds of the air. Where did he make them from?
Out of the ground, the dust.
Out of the ground. He made man from the dust, made all the animals from the dust. Did you guys know that?
That had never registered with me before.
Because we just think,
Amen.
poof, here they all are. But he made them out of the dust of the ground. He made them out of the ground. When we started this class, I said we're going to be learning things that you have never thought of before. Especially for the first how many chapters? 5 chapters. It'll make you go reading all the things that are in here that you've never thought of before or were never taught. So he made man from the dust of the ground. He made all the animals from the dust of the ground. But when we read in this, in the very beginning, it said he made all the animals, right? May have. We don't know. Just said he made all the animals. All right. And then it says, and all beasts of the ground and of the field. Now the Lord God had formed out of the ground all the beasts of the field and all the birds in the air. He brought them to the man to see what he would name them. And whenever the man called every living creature, that was his name. So the man gave names to all the livestock, the birds of the air, and the beasts of the fields. So what animals were brought to him?
All of them.
All of them. That includes what? That you would never think of. Dinosaurs.
Giraffes.
Wow, he named giraffes, he named, right, but I'm just saying, but we never think of dinosaurs because we've been taught what? They were long gone. But all the animals were brought to him, including dinosaurs. And we're going to learn something very, very interesting here in the next few chapters as well about what all these animals ate. Can you guess? Huh? Plants.
Yeah, see? Vegetarians.
Yes. And they learned from their mistake and they became meat eaters.
Well, actually, they didn't learn from their mistake. They learned from Adam's mistake.
So, I'm just saying. But they were all plant eaters. Every single one of them. So that tells you that the Tyrannosaurus Rex was a plant eater. All right, here we go. But for Adam, no suitable helper was found. And this is a question that I got. What? It was a good question. What was the question you asked me?
If it says no suitable helper was found, does that mean that they tried animals as helpers first instead of Eve?
He wanted to go through and see if he could find a helper for Adam. And he was looked at all the animals, named all the animals, and I think it's kind of funny that he named them all, because you know that he got tired of it after a while and just said, that's a cat, that's a dog, because he had named everything else. He was just tired of naming them all at this point. And then, but yeah, he was trying to find a helper, couldn't find anything. So it was just, that's it. All right, so then he goes on. But for Adam no suitable helper was found. So the Lord God caused the man to fall into a deep sleep, and while he was sleeping, he took one of the man's ribs and closed up the place with flesh. Then the Lord God made a woman from the rib he had taken out of the man, and he brought her to the man. And the man said, "This is my bone, is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, for she was taken out of a man." Verse 24. For this reason a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and they will become one flesh. Why is that there? What's that saying?
Gotta leave the nest, go do your own thing.
Right? But father and mother, they don't know what that is.
Oh,
Good morning. I was talking about it.
leave his father and mother. Never thought of it.
What did you say?
They don't know what a father and mother is.
Adam and Eve.
Adam and Eve don't know. But here's the account of Adam and Eve. In the garden.
Well, it's sanctioning marriage.
Well, it is. It is. But they will leave father and mother and be united to his wife, and they will become one flesh. They're the only two there. In the garden.
Parents. God knew there would be fathers and mothers later.
Yeah, he did. Verse 25. The man and his wife were both naked, and they felt no shame. Chapter 3. Now the serpent was more crafty than any of the other animals the Lord God had made. And he said to the woman, "Did God really say you must not eat from any tree in the garden?" The woman said to the serpent, "You may eat fruit from the tree in the garden, but God did say, you must not eat from the tree that is in the middle of the garden, and you must not touch it, or you will die." Now, what is that talking about? What is that saying about Satan? Or the serpent? What does he do?
Makes you doubt.
He makes you doubt, question,
Twist the words.
twist the words. That's what his job is. And I don't know how many times, we've talked about this on Sunday morning, we've talked about this Sunday night. All the serpent has to do is take this and just turn it just a smidgen. All he's got to do is take it and just move it just a little bit. And if he moves it just a little bit, and you believe it, he's done it. Because if it's not straight, if it's not exactly what this says or does, then he's taking you off course. So he planted the seed, per se, in Eve about the trees, about the fruit, about the garden, about all those things. But she had the right response. But he said in verse 4, "You will surely not die," the serpent said to the woman, "for God knows that when you eat it, your eyes will be opened and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." Now, he was exactly true. He was exactly right. If they ate it, what happened? What did not happen if they ate it?
They didn't die immediately.
They didn't die immediately. So he was right. Listen, you're going to eat it. You're not going to die. But then he said, because if you do, you will know the good and evil. Verse 6. When the woman saw that the fruit of the tree was good for food and pleasing to the eye, and also desirable for gaining wisdom, she took some and ate it. She also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate it. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they realized realized they were naked, so they sewed fig leaves together and made coverings for themselves. Now, who was there when they ate?
They were
Who was?
Adam and Eve.
They both were together. We always see here about she ate and then she went and found him and said, here, you eat. No, he was there. He didn't stop her. And he had first-hand knowledge, because that's what God told him. Don't eat. He told her, don't eat. And she went and looked at it and said, hey, let's eat. And he goes, okay. Right? But they were both there when they ate. She gave them the same thing. Verse 8. Then the man and his wife heard the sound of the Lord God, as he was walking in the garden in the cool of the day, and they hid from the Lord God among the trees of the garden. So, Adam and Eve, what was happening there?
They recognized their sin.
No. I was following you at the very beginning, but go back to the beginning. What did they do? What did they do?
They were naked and hid.
Huh?
They were naked and they hid.
They were naked, but before that, though, look at this. Look at verse 8.
Verse 8. And they heard the sound of the Lord.
So what does that mean?
They didn't see him.
No.
That God was with them.
God was watching them.
Keep trying. What does it mean? Then the man and his wife heard the sound of the Lord as he was walking in the garden.
God was in the earth.
Do what?
God was on the earth walking.
Yeah, God was on the earth walking. Okay, but dig deeper. What do you think? How did they know it was God walking?
I mean, it's the only other person in the garden, probably.
Probably, but he obviously had been walking in the garden many, many times before.
They recognized his footsteps.
So they knew his footsteps. It's like in our house. We know when Jordan comes down the stairs. Thud, 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 thud. It's Jordan, right? Was that Jordan who I walked by? Oh, that's funny. But to be said, we all know when any of us are walking down the stairs or walking in the rooms, we all know. I hear it. I know when she gets up in the middle of the night. Do you know why I know that? Because after she leaves the bed and she goes out into the hall, she always steps on the threshold between our room and the hallway, and it makes noise.
I actually try to step over it.
But you don't. It's like, what? And I go, Heather's leaving the room. You know, she's going to go get a glass of water. She's letting the dogs out. Whatever the case may be, I hear her. We all know. And it's those footsteps. You know the footsteps of the people around you. Obviously, that God had been in the garden with Adam and Eve so many times, they recognized his footsteps. And when they recognized Dad's footsteps, that's when they hid. Isn't that cool? Can you imagine being that close with God, that you recognized his footsteps? And of course, you recognized his footsteps and you were scared to death. Oh boy, here he comes. All right. And they hid from the Lord God among the trees of the garden. But the Lord called to them, where are you? He answered, I heard you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid. And he said, who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree that I commanded you not to eat from? And the man said, the woman you put here with me, she gave me some fruit of the tree, and I ate it. Blame her. Right? It's kind of like Moses. When the people started to rebel, these are your people. You gave them to me. You did this.
It sounds like he's blaming God, because he said the woman weeped.
Yeah.
You gave to me.
Yeah, I would have been just fine. I wouldn't have eaten of it, except for you gave me this woman. Right? You put me in this situation. You let this happen. Blames God, blames her. She gave me some fruit from the tree, and I ate it. Then the Lord said to the woman, "What is it that you have done?" And the woman said, "The serpent deceived me, and I ate." So the Lord God said to the serpent, "Because you have done this, cursed are you above all the livestock and all the wild animals. You will crawl on your belly, and you will eat dust all the days of your life. And I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and hers. He will crush your head, and you will strike his heel." To the woman, he's, let's go on to the women in just a moment. But what is he predicting there? What's he talking about there in that little prophecy that he's talking about? Huh? Saints? Snakes? Well, yeah, he's talking about snakes. He's talking about Satan, really, in all this. But what else is he talking about there?
Prejudice Christ.
Huh?
The seed of Christ.
Yeah, he's talking about the seed. He's talking about eventually he's going to stomp on your head. He's going to defeat you, and you're going to bite at him, but it's not going to do any good. And so, boom, there you are.
Is that the first reference to Christ?
It is. It is. Yeah. All right. To the woman, he said, "I will greatly increase your pains in childbearing. With pain you will give birth to children. Your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you." As Heather just rolled her eyes. But what does it say about childbearing?
It's gonna be painful.
It's going to be painful, but
He was true.
well, okay, that's true, but it's going to be what? Not just painful.
Give you a desire for your husband.
Increase your pain.
So it's going to hurt
It
anyway.
was going to hurt anyway. I mean, I can imagine pushing a watermelon out is going to hurt, right? So it was going to hurt anyway. But now the pain is even going to be more. When you see an animal giving birth, you know they're in discomfort. But it doesn't hurt them like a woman does. So the pain was going to be there. It's just increased. And then, of course, her desire will be for her husband, and the husband will rule over her. Right, dear? To Adam, he said, "Because you listened to your wife and ate from the tree about which I commanded you, you must not eat of it. Cursed is the ground because of you. Through painful toil you will eat of it all the days of your life. It will produce thorns and thistles for you, and you will eat of the plants of the field. By the sweat of your brow you will eat your food until you return to the ground. Since from it you were taken, and dust you are, and to dust you will return." Okay, so he was still going to work the ground, right? We just found that out. In the garden, he said, you're going to work the field, you're going to work the plants, you're going to work all those things. But now he's just introduced, you're still going to be doing work, and it's going to be a lot harder because you got all those weeds and thistles and all the thorns and everything that's always there. I hate those weeds that grow up in my grass.
Thistles.
And the vines that grow everywhere. And it's just horrible. For me, I'm like, I wish I would still have to work it, but it wouldn't be that bad.
We're not.
I know how hard it is for me to use my hose and spray the chemical all over. I mean, it might take me 15 minutes to do my whole yard. It's horrible.
When I was growing up, we had the pasture where the cows were, and they couldn't eat the thistles. But there were thistles all over.
Yeah.
And Daddy worked out of town, So he put me and my brother to work with, our job was to get all the thistles out of all of the pasture.
Yeah.
We got a penny a thistle. He trusted us, Dad trusted us to count those thistles. But we spent days and days out there getting those thistles.
Yeah, when I was going into 8th grade, I got a job walking beans.
Okay.
Beans. Walking beans. So they send you out in the bean fields with a hoe, and when you came across a weed, you chopped it down. And you just did that all day long. You walked up and down the rows, chopping out the weeds that were growing in the soybean fields. Oh, it was horrible. But I got paid for it. So, yeah. All right. Verse 20, Adam named his wife Eve because she would become the mother of all the living. Living. I have a theory about that too. We'll get to that theory in a little while. All right? Were you going to ask a question? Ask the question. Go right ahead.
About the verse 20, when Cain and Abel are, when Cain kills Abel, and they send him out, and he goes to the land of Nod, and he has to make a city for all the people, they're already living. So why is she the mother of living when there's already?
It's a very good question now.
Yes, but what kind of living is she the mother of?
I don't know much after going through Genesis.
Right. That's the million dollar question. I have a theory about Cain and Abel in the garden. What is it? My theory about about Adam and Eve in the garden, Cain and Abel and all those, is, remember I told you that God always has a plan? So when he created the world, there was the water and the water and the water and the water. The day of rest leading into the Sabbath. My theory is that Adam and Eve were put into the Garden of Eden to show the lineage that would lead to David, that would lead to Jesus. Because Adam is the first Adam. Jesus is the second Adam, the last Adam. So my theory is he wanted a special people, the living people, to be in the Garden of Eden, to be in the lineage of David, to be in the lineage of Jesus.
Because he's the living God.
Because he's the living God. That's my theory. Does that make sense?
Check the Nod people story.
I'm just...
That makes sense.
We'll get there. We'll get there. That's why this is all kind of... Because once you start reading this, you go, what? All right. Then the Lord made garments of skin for Adam and his wife and clothed him. And the Lord God said, the man has now become like one of us, knowing good and evil. He must not be allowed to reach out his hand and take also from the tree of life and eat and live forever. For the Lord God banished him from the Garden of Eden to work the ground from which he had been taken. After he drove the man out, he placed on the east side of the Garden of Eden a cherubim and a flaming sword flashing back and forth to guard the way to the tree of life. That's why you'll never know where it is. And if anybody does happen to find out where it is, guess what's going to happen?
They're not going to tell you.
You're not ever going to hear from them ever again. Because God is protecting the Garden of Eden. If anybody happens to stumble upon it, hey, there's a flaming sword. Let's go check it out.
That's dumb.
Yeah, it is dumb.
That's what I was thinking. I'd go the other way.
I'd go the other way. That's right. That's right. All right. Adam lay with his wife, and she became pregnant and gave birth to Cain. She said, with the help of the Lord, I have brought forth a man. Later she gave birth to his brother Abel. How old was Adam when they had a baby?
A few days, I don't know. Do we know?
We do.
How do we know?
What are you looking at me for?
I'm thinking.
Chapter 5 tells us. Well, we'll get there. You know when we're going to get there?
Next week.
I'm not going to be here next week.
That's right.
We'll get there. Huh?
Get there in
In-
2020.
Yeah, we will. We'll get there in 2020. But yeah, we know how old he was when he started having kids. Don't look there yet. We'll find it. All right. Now Abel, and later she gave birth to his brother Abel. Now Abel kept flocks, and Cain worked the soil. In the course of time, Cain brought some of the fruit from the soil as an offering to the Lord. But Abel brought the fat portions of some of the firstborn of his flock. The Lord looked down with favor on Abel and his offering, but on Cain and his offering he did not look with favor. So Cain was very angry, and his face was downcast. Why? Why the difference?
I know.
Huh?
Abel's was the firstborn. He brought the firstborn, and probably the best with the fat. And Cain, we don't know.
He brought some.
He just brought an offering. Does it say that it was the best? Probably no, it was rotten fruit that he didn't want to eat.
It was first fruits,
My mama says it was a careless offering,
careless offering. Here you go.
Just
but it's just gotta put this on.
Right. Well, but we learn about it's about the attitude. It's about the attitude. Because what happened and Cain was angry and his face was downcast. Ah,
he wasn't in a good mood to begin.
well, he didn't have the right attitude
Yeah.
about giving it.
Yeah.
Abel was. Abel was like, all right, here you go, Lord. Verse 6, then the Lord said to Cain, why are you angry? Why is your face downcast? If you do what is right, you will you not be accepted? But you do not do what is right. Sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must master it. So it's all about the attitude. That's the reason why. He came forward in the wrong attitude. Does that make sense? Now Cain said to his brother Abel, let's go out to the field. And while they were in the field, Cain attacked his brother Abel and killed him. Then the Lord said to Cain, where is your brother Abel? I don't know, he replied. Am I my brother's keeper? You could just tell he's just got an attitude all the way around. Why? What's it to you? Right?
He was the firstborn. He was privileged.
And we don't know how long between each one. Maybe he was.
Yeah.
Maybe he wasn't the favorite.
7 years difference between my sister and me made her feel privileged.
Of course.
She still feels privileged. I love her dearly, but she still feels the privilege that she
Yeah.
had for 7 years with a mama and a daddy and her granddaddy and nobody else.
My younger sister is 12 years younger than me. She's an only child.
Yeah.
She is. Such an age gap between all of us. You know, by the time she started school, we were all done. All right, we're going to stop there. We will start verse 10 in 2 weeks. All right, I will not be here. Heather and I will not be here next week. We will be in Biloxi, spending the weekend together. On you guys.
I'll have a good time.
Well, thank you. We're